Hello and welcome back, my beautiful, radiant, bright lights of Shine Tribe. I am so grateful to connect with you in this space. Thank you so much for your feedback, for people reaching out, for letting me know how much this means to you. Obviously, it means a lot to me too. And sometimes you can be in your own bubble. And it's been so lovely to connect with people and know that people are excited and wanting to connect and contemplate. So thank you so much. I also wanted to give you sort of a little update of where I'm at and a little behind the scenes of what it's like to be doing a full-time job and balancing a family and an active life while simultaneously creating this playground of this soulSHINE space of connection and expression. So the behind the scenes is that actually the first 18 episodes of this podcast were actually created an entire year before they were released. And as you can imagine, we all grow, thankfully, and evolve over the course of our life. And in those first few years of practicing coaching and getting certified, I wanted to be so rigorous and maintain the highest quality, most ethical, cleanest coaching possible. And as you know from the first episode, I also had this inner calling of where my heart was pulling me to just create a playground to honor the messiness and the beauty of life. And in putting out those first 18 episodes, I noticed that I would kind of steer away from certain topics. I would want to be really grounded in logic and in the mind. And in the year that has lapsed, life keeps lifing. And I am in a season where I really appreciating and connecting and having a lot of gratitude just for the expression of life, the art of life, the art of living with all of those beautiful humanistic qualities. And still think it's important to weave in science where it applies. I know you guys out there are my scientists and my investigators, and art, science matters. Of course, it matters to be knowing that what we're talking about isn't just ethereal, but it really does have real biologic, physiologic effects on us, on our body, on our mind, and not just in our spirit. So I will still weave in the science. But I just think it's funny. If you look back at the icon on the intro and the outro, it's a still shot of the cover of the vodcast. And there's a little logo in the bottom that says, "Be more of you." And that was originally what the subtitle was going to be. And so you can see that in the first 18 of the cover art. And I still believe that this space is to be more and more of ourselves, to get to know ourselves, to love ourselves, to express our most authentic self. But I also appreciate that the you that we are seeking to become more and more of is always evolving and changing. And maybe more of you looks different in 5 years from now, 5 months from now, 5 minutes from now. And so I love this idea that we're in a constant state of becoming, and not that we necessarily need to arrive anywhere. You know, we discussed in episode 4, the arrival fallacy, and that constant movement, growth, and evolution are a part of life. And we can honor exactly who we are while also being aware and intentional about nurturing our next version. And so as I was launching these first 18 and putting the description of the space and revisiting that subtitle, I really liked this idea of the art of becoming. And science, of course, supports this practice of embracing uncertainty and imperfection. And there is research on tolerating uncertainty, and that when we allow for unanswered questions to remain without forcing any kind of resolution or any arrival, that it does improve our emotional well-being and our adaptive functioning. And that comes from the Journal of Patient Education and Counseling and JAMA Psychiatry. And I'll put all of these references and articles in the show notes so you can go and read them later. But the space between our old self and our new self, where the questions remain unanswered, really has a lot of value. Our minds are really wired to seek certainty. It gives us safety, we think, because that's what, we've been taught. But science, again, tells us that when we can hold uncertainty, the uncertainty of our lives, of ourselves, of our journey, that we are more adaptive, we have lower anxiety, we have greater resilience and more meaningful engagement with life. So I love this idea of just practicing it in daily life, allowing unanswered questions, holding curiosity is not just philosophical, it's evidence-based. And when I allow myself to engage not only in the science of becoming, but the art of it, it has given me the gift to see and navigate life with so much more beauty and gratitude and wonder. Think about like the beauty of Wabi-sabi, that Japanese idea of seeing beauty and imperfection. It's such a generous way to embrace life. Why can't beauty be available to us, even in the most ugly moments, to ourselves, to our work, to our relationship, to our evolution? Beauty maybe can coexist with the messiness. Same with gratitude, freedom, and wonder. They can exist even in the most imperfect and unanswered and uncertain moments, the moments where we have to surrender and trust ourselves. So many of us just want to rush to get to the place where we're successful, acknowledged, we're loved, we're wealthy, we're thin, whatever it is. And we don't allow enough time for the becoming, for the messiness of the transition, for the growth, for the unanswered questions just to remain unanswered, to be in contemplation. There's so much possibility and power in the contemplation, in allowing the answer to find you, maybe many different answers to find you. Instead, we get so uncomfortable with needing to know the answer that we just force something just so we can have resolution and know what the answer is. We don't like feeling the discomfort of uncertainty, the discomfort of not knowing. We need space between our old selves and our new selves, between who we were and who we're becoming. And so what if we even just practice awareness, mindfulness around the question itself? Let me just give you an example for personally. Like imagine if I ask myself, what if this podcast never works? What if it never has an impact on the world? My mind is going to answer that, maybe not out loud, maybe not completely in my awareness, but subconsciously it's going to answer it. And if I'm operating in fear and in doubt, I'm probably going to think to myself, it's not going to work. It's not going to have impact in the world. And knowing the thought model that you know now, that's going to lead to me having a very paralyzing feeling. And then my action line is going to be full of inaction. And I'm not going to have the impact that I want to have in this world. So what if instead of jumping to answer the question, like, shoot, I'm never going to do what I want to do, or bypassing the question, trying to force myself to have a belief that I don't really believe yet, what if I'm just aware that, you know what, that question, it kind of shuts me down to my courage, to my creativity. What if I just find a better question that reconnects me to my purpose and my possibility? Instead of asking myself, what if this podcast never works? What if I ask myself, what would it take for me to believe that this could work? Instead of asking, what if this space never has an impact on the world? I can ask myself, kind of impact would I want it to have on this world? Educational, social, philosophical, and then immediately a better question leads me to more questions. I don't have to even answer the questions. I just have to see what the effect is of that question on me. And it's monumental. I can continue to ask better and better questions that open me up to possibility or to hope. What if only one person is touched by this? Is that still worthwhile for me to keep going? What if no one is? What if it's just to fill up my own heart, my own spirit, my own cup? How can I put a value on that is so much more beyond, measurements and outcomes and ratings and whatever else external is out there? Do I trust my listener and all of their power? What would it take for me to believe in myself, to believe in the power of you, the power of one conversation, one moment? What would it take for me to surrender and trust? Already, these questions are opening me up to more expanse, to more motivation, and to be more powerful, to connect to something bigger than myself, to connect to my heart instead of the question and to my mind and to my fear. I still don't have the answer to any of the questions. Notice that too. I didn't have to arrive anywhere. I didn't have to force an answer on anything. I just had to have awareness of the question and then allow myself to connect to even better questions that create a fertile space for possibility, for play, for bravery. And so maybe this is something you can practice in your own life. just holding unanswered questions and allowing the unfolding, allowing the becoming. See if you can find better questions. Let's say relationships, for example. Like maybe you're in a relationship and it's kind of rocky at the moment. I wonder what's happening in this relationship. Your mind will immediately look to the immediate past evidence of the fights or the disconnection or whatever, the arguments, the hurt feelings, and think that based on the past evidence, that's going to predict the future. And you sort of quickly force an answer of this relationship is going to decline. And so you're closed off, you're protective of yourself, sort of defensive, or maybe like on the offense, on the defense. Yeah. But what if you played around with different questions? Like, I wonder what the next chapter is. I wonder if there's something this person hasn't shared with me. I wonder if there's something I haven't shared with myself. I wonder what it would be like to go out, pretend we don't know each other and start fresh, even if it's for one night. I wonder what would happen if we took a trip. I wonder how I could support them. I wonder how I could support myself. I wonder how I could forgive them. I wonder how I could forgive myself. To feel how you can show up with so much more openness and possibility that's ready for your evolution and change, and how then that co-creates with the relationship for the relationship to evolve and change when you stay connected to yourself and you're in a container with your relationship, your work, etc. All because you just change your questions. Again, you don't even have to answer them. Just being aware of what are the questions, the fears that we have, and how is it an invitation to look from an even higher vantage point that brings out the best in you. Maybe it's something at work. Maybe someone did something like rude or offensive. I feel like that's my usual example, because I feel like it's just a human thing that people get offended by other people, right? And so we immediately assume that it's because they're insensitive, and we move on, and we think that it doesn't affect our day. We think like they did something offensive, they're insensitive, and we move on. But the real truth is it does affect our day. It shuts down our heart. It shuts down our connection. It shuts down our hope in the world. Relationship by relationship, we erode our connection to the communities that we would love to belong to. And we stop showing up in a way that community can even exist. What if instead of immediately getting offended, we asked ourselves a series of other questions? I wonder why they said that. I wonder what they're going through. Maybe they don't know any better. I wonder why I'm judging them. I wonder why I'm offended. What is inside of me right now that's trying to give me a message that needs to be seen or heard? Would someone else be offended at this? What about 10 other people? 100 other people be offended at this? What about someone of like a completely different age, a completely different job, a completely different gender, from a completely different part of the world? Would they be offended at this? And if it's not something that everyone would be offended at, then maybe there's some information here about my experience that would help me understand myself, help me love myself, help me understand them. How do I want to move with this? Is it possible to have boundaries and do it because I love myself, not because I hate them? Is it possible to disagree with this person? Not because I already know the answer, but because they're simply learning. Where can I find small openings of compassion? Can you feel already how this is like changing your experience? Even after they've gone away and said the thing they did, or said the thing they said, or did the thing they did, you still have you for the rest of the day to carry and to be who you want to be. And you still have the next interaction and the next person, like you get to choose if your heart is going to be open or closed. What if someone is judging you for something you innocently said and you didn't mean to offend anybody, but they took offense to it and thought that you were really insensitive and not really who you are? Like, wouldn't it be lovely if they held the same questions about you instead of immediately judging you? Is this invisible work worth doing? Do I feel better when I do it? Am I the type of person I would want to be friends with? And so my wish for me, for you, for all of us, is that we allow that gift of contemplation to connect us to possibility, to curiosity, and to intentional choice. We will all become many things over our lifetime and experience so much throughout our evolution. No version of self is better or worse, and there's no rush to become the next thing. There's no better there than here, as we've discussed in past episodes. How can we allow for that space in between versions, for that space between the answers? I'm wishing all of you that beauty and expanse and freedom in the art of becoming. For our ending tradition, here are a few more questions to ask yourself. Where in your life are you forcing answers that don't fit? How could you possibly reframe those questions to hold more possibility, hope, or love? Where are you rushing to arrive to an answer instead of allowing the messy process of becoming or the question? Can you see the wabi-sabi in your life, finding beauty even in the imperfection of becoming? Wishing you all play, possibility, and peace. Wishing you to feel supported in this space and so honored to be a part of your soul tribe. Sending you love and see you next week.